So yesterday we heard from the Eskom board chair, Mpho Makwana. He said the power utility was considering permanent load shedding at stages 2 and 3 for the next few years in order to create stability for consumers and give the grid a cushion to improve power supply. But then a little later in the afternoon on Sunday, we heard from Eskom management via their spokesperson that permanent load shedding had been discussed and actually discarded as a viable option. But let's get a view now from Pethoe, the General Secretary of the Congress of South African Trade Unions, Cosatu. Thank you so much for joining us. So before we get to all of that, because there's quite a lot to discuss on that, I was reading your statement about you reject this 24-month proposed plan, but you also say that the President needs to declare a state of disaster over this issue. What would a state of disaster do to help this crisis?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you to viewers. Our view and a call for the President to declare a national disaster on the electricity or energy crisis, it is based on the fact that currently we're sitting with a serious problem. Nothing can be done without electricity or without energy, and we want the President to declare this electricity challenges or economic energy crisis a disaster for the President and his cabinet to focus on this matter and find a solution that will be able to avert the economic crisis that we're facing in this country. Already, as you said, in relation to our statement this morning, already there are employers or business who are planning to retrench workers, who are planning there are business who are planning to shut down their companies, and therefore it will not be correct and it will be a serious problem for us without engaging on this matter. As we've said, that's what we need the President of the Republic to focus himself, not to delegate any one of the ministers, himself to lead this crisis and make sure that this matter is resolved. And we are basing on our call for the submission also that we've made in 2020 in relation to the Eskom social compact that was signed by all the constituency at NEDLAC, and that was not implemented in totality. And at that time, as Cosatu or Labour at NEDLAC, were able to say that this is a crisis that we are following, and this is going to disrupt the economic recovery plan that has been agreed at the level of NEDLAC.
All right, so you'd believe a state of disaster declaration would bring increased focus, and I would imagine there's a fair amount of shortcuts that might speed certain interventions up as well. Let's move on to this issue around this 2-year possible plan that we could see the status quo being stages 2 and 3. We get used to it. You know, the argument from Mr. Mpho Makwana, the board chair, was that it will create a certain amount of stability. I want us to be absolutely clear on this because we are getting slightly different messages. Let's listen back to what the board chair said yesterday on this exact issue. We've got the clip for you. Let's listen.
We want to ensure that we create some predictability by implementing some level of permanent stage of between stage 2 and 3 load shedding for the next 2 years in order to give sufficient space for maintenance while giving the country a level of predictability or consistency to plan livelihoods better. Shuttling from one stage to another within a short space of time is not good for any business in any context within our communities. The teams at power stations are working hard to get better reliability and availability of power.
All right, so what the board chair seems to be saying is that there are two options, that we could stay at this permanent pattern, stages 2 and 3, for the next 2 years, which creates more capacity because even when times are good in terms of generation, they're building up fat, they're building up a cushion. Or we continue with this level of complete unpredictability. What do you make of that argument?
Well, from our side, our argument is that if we continue to create a permanent instability of that 24 months, which is 2 years, will be at stage 2 or stage 3, it will mean then the economy of this country will collapse. Consumers will not be able to afford anything. Our country will not be able to afford, as we said, the issue around the cost of living will continue to be high for the workers. Again, as we said already, as I'm repeating what I said earlier on, business are beginning to say, on the basis of this 24 months without electricity or 24 months without stage 2 or stage 3, it will mean that we will not be able to make profit. What does that mean to the ordinary citizens of South Africa?
But what I seem to be hearing from the board chair is both options are pretty awful. One would be this permanent sort of pattern where you hope that you've got some certainty. Otherwise, we take our chances and we might head to stage 6 one day, stage 3 the next. I mean, if out of those two options, is there a better one for you? Or is there a third option that you think is not being considered properly?
Well, obviously, the 2-year one, the 24 years without electricity or continue to cut for us will not accept, as we said in our statement. And what we are calling, and repeatedly so, is that government must engage and find a way of implementing the social compact that was signed in 2022. One of the issues that we raised in the social compact was to bring all the constituency together, not going to them one by one, bring all the constituency and the affected constituency together and engage on this matter, find a solution that will be able to resolve the situation that we're facing in this country. And without any boring you, is that this issue of electricity, it was there, and we realized as workers, as labor, at NETLEC that we're facing this challenge. At the time when government was calling for the unbundling of the Eskom, we raised these issues. Unfortunately, government did not want to listen to us.
All right, so I'm getting a sense that you almost want an energy CODESA. And you know, a lot of people listening to you say this will go, oh, the time for talk is over. However, if you just look at the messages we're getting from Eskom, yesterday, and we've played you the clip, that is the chair of the board. He's saying, we want to look at some level of permanent stage 2 and 3. A little while later, there is a message coming from the Eskom spokesperson saying, hang on a minute, Andre de Ruyter was at one point considering this, but it was then taken off the table when he realized that it wouldn't necessarily guarantee that we would be insured from those more intense levels of load shedding anyway. So what we've got now is we've got the board saying one thing, that they want to still consider this option, and then we've got Eskom management saying, well, we looked at that and we decided no, which suggests at the very least a miscommunication between the board and management. How do you understand these mixed messages?
Well, we have said it even when we met with the president, that including ministers, you will recall the contradicting messages publicly by the Minister of SOEs, Mr. Pravin Gordhan, and the Minister of Mineral and Energy, Minister Mantashe. This is exactly what we said. Government, including board management, and the board and management of Eskom must stop to send a confusing message to the public. What we want a clear engagement and what should be the solution in this matter. Yeah, like we are saying, it's a confusing message to the public. We're not sure exactly what is that, and that's why today, as you can see, what is happening. Businesses are threatening to shut down. Businesses are threatening to lay workers off. And we would have to go back to a discussion as we did with the disaster of COVID and say, can we try and find and give a temporary relief from the UIF from workers? And we don't think that what should happen. And we warn government in the social compact that this tariff increase that NERSA is proposing to give to Eskom needs to be managed by the Eskom management. And we're happy that the president is considering also to engage Eskom, has already engaged Eskom and say, can you suspend the increase of from NERSA in terms of the 18.65%. But you look at now, you played a clip there that shows that sometimes in this month there may be an increase on the fuel petrol, and that thing it's sending a clear message that the consumers, the people of South Africa, are continuing to trap, and our economy with that unemployment increase last year of 3% is going down. That 3% is no longer there. We're back to square one, where the unemployment is continuing to rise. The poverty, the triple challenges is continuing to be up. Cost of living, that they continue to be up. And that's the issue, that we need a clear engagement. We have called for economic and energy economic summit and deal with these issues once and for all, and come up with a clear proposal that will then be able to have the people of South Africa, the public, to respond in relation to the proposed resolutions.
Do you, as Cosatu, have a clear view of who you would like to see replacing Andre de Ruyter when he leaves in March? Do you believe that the right person in the job would make a real difference? Or do you think we've kind of gone beyond personalities at this point?
Well, we don't have a specific person who must replace de Ruyter when he leaves. But what we said to government is that we want somebody who's got an experience, somebody who's got a capacity, and want somebody who will be able to work with the management and find a way of taking us out of the situation we're facing. A CEO alone, without working with the management, without the support of government, the support of the board, will not be able to resolve the matter alone. And we've made it clear that we are calling for government to take up this matter seriously, and that we don't want, like it happened previously, where you saw the chairperson of the board being appointed as an acting COO for life. It cannot be correct. They must appoint a permanent person who would be able to take responsibility, who would also be able to respond to the management and respond to the board and respond to the challenges that the people of South Africa and the business, the consumers will be facing.
Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. Solly Pethoe is the General Secretary of the Congress of South African Trade Unions, Cosatu, telling us that the mere proposal by the board that we could consider a 2-year period of ongoing rolling blackouts at levels stages 2 and 3 has sent great alarm across many sectors, and many people are saying they might have to shut up shop.